Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Coming to you from Rochester, Minnesota, our town. So word on the street is Fiddlehead Coffee is expanding to a new downtown location. We're super excited. And here to give us the scoop and share more about the indie coffee shop's growth are owners Sarah and Patrick Phelan. Welcome to our town, both of you.
Hi, thank you for having us.
So true confession, one of my favorite things to do on a warmer day is to take a walk from my house through Slatterly Park to your government center location on 3rd Avenue. And of course, in addition to that location, you've already expanded to Miracle Mile near St. Mary's Hospital, and then even to Bloomington, Minnesota, where you are today, Patrick. Can you tell us where the next location in downtown Rochester will be and why this expansion is so significant?
Sarah, you go ahead and start.
Okay, yeah, so we're moving into the Kaler Grand Hotel there. It was on the first floor, right on the corner of the Gonda building in the hospital there, near Peace Plaza. Super excited to be moving into the old Starbucks location on the first floor.
And is there a timeline for the expansion, and when can we expect to be sort of able to go to the Fiddlehead location at the
Yeah, we should be opening in March, pending we're having a lot of normal supply chain iscies and COVID issues
timeline
to deal with.
Of course.
It's a COVID timeline, so whatever you say, it won't be the right thing.
It's aspirational for sure.
Hoping for the first week of March.
Great. And what have people come to expect about Fiddlehead Coffee, and sort of what is going to be maintained in this location, and what are some new things that you're sort of exploring in this new space?
So the things that people come to expect, we have award-winning coffee roasted right here in Rochester, and a really fantastic beverage program doing craft lattes, kind of approaching what a latte can be a little bit differently, using local dairy, using Minnesota beet sugar for syrups, and really just a sensational beverage program. And then we have an awesome in-house pastry program doing primarily French pastry, really classical stuff, and then also kind of pushing the envelope with various ingredients we're using, always trying to keep a mind for what is local, what is fresh, and kind of what is an expression of this place. And then we took inspiration from my grandmother, and we have a Southern Italian style sandwich program doing really amazing house-made focaccia, really awesome salads, soups, and a lot of that will be seen at the new location with additional grab-and-go options for a crowd on the run.
That sounds really exciting. And I know, you said it in terms of the COVID timeline. Of course, it's been a really tough couple of years for the planet and our community and our city, and of course for vital businesses and business owners. We've got about a minute left, so this is a big question. What would you say has been one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome over this pandemic, and what hope are you holding on to for the future of the coffee shop and the community?
I don't know, we could maybe both answer, but I mean, there's so many things. It's hard to pick the hardest one. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just been the constant change, just the constant, not knowing what's coming up, shutdowns, opening, somebody's out with COVID, somebody might be out with COVID, somebody, and then all the supply issues and just the change in prices too. We've got, everything is very much a moving target. And so we've tried to build the business to be agile anyway, but this has kind of pushed us to the limit of agility, I think. But we have a really great team that has totally rolled with the punches and been super supportive. So we would be kind of nowhere without them.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us. We're super excited, as if you can't tell. And congratulations, of course. And we look forward to the opening. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
sure to stick around. We have much more coming your way on Our Town. This week's Walkabout is part one of a double feature as we visit the newly opened Garden Party Books. We also discuss the Bloomberg Philanthropies Global Mayors Challenge with Chao Mwatela and Wafa Elkhalifa. But up first, we meet Sarge, a canine who competed in a national police dog competition in this week's Our Culture segment.
His main purpose is to keep our community safe, and we want to find the object before it goes boom and causes the catastrophic injuries that could happen with an explosion. Sarge is much more disciplined than any other dog of his breed. He's always happy. You get him in the car, he's ready to go. You open up that door and he's just ready to do whatever we need to do. We're looking around for different types of breeds. We knew we wanted a game dog. My counterpart, he had just bought his own personal game dog from a game farm over in New London, Minnesota. And so he called them up and said, hey, this is what we're doing. And the guy's like, yep, I've got 2 dogs that are just too much energy and wild for us to turn them into game dogs. And we said, perfect, that's what we need for our job. We get requests all the time from Secret Service, State Department, because we have Mayo Clinic here. We have a lot of dignitaries and VIPs that come here. So it was something where we had a need for it. He was definitely more of the shyer one. Sarge was just more methodical and just, I'm gonna take my time doing things. When you're dealing with explosives, we have 30 different odors that the dog learns. With each of those explosive odors, there's a base odor that is used in that compound. So we train on those base odors at first to really imprint that odor into the dog to say, this is what you want. We don't just always look for a bomb. We also go to a shooting scene because our dogs are better at finding a gun, a casing, because that's all they care about. They care about the odor itself. There is a kind of training scenario that we do where we just keep walking around in an area and we just drop bags and they just go check and we look for that behavior change. One of them had an odor and inside that odor was an explosive component. So we used ammonium nitrate. Ammonium nitrate's a very common ingredient that's used in a lot of different mixtures of explosives. So it's something that no matter what the explosive compound could be, if there's ammonium nitrate in it, he's going to alert to it. We did the agility course. Again, he's not trained for that to do that for any type of certification. It's just more of a confidence booster for him, for one. And 2, it's just something to break it up. We try to push the progression to, again, build that obedience and just confidence. They need to be obedient, especially when we're dealing with explosives. Just because we're at work doesn't mean we're not training the dog. When we're at home, we're still training the dog. There's no off days when you're in the canine unit. You're on vacation and the dog's not with you, then yeah, you have an off day, but otherwise, every day is a training day. We take our training very serious because the city and the department put us in responsibility of this creature, and it expects us to do what we're supposed to do and get their money's worth. He's an officer. He's part of the police department. This is just one job in my 18 years that has been the most fulfilling, and everything's new. And so having him in the car with me, that's just my bond. That's my partner, that's my family, that's everything. When I come to work, he's always with me. I spend more time with him than I do with my own family.
For more information about this story and other Our Town features, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter at KSMQ #OurTown, or ksmq.org/ourtown.
Hello, I'm Danielle Teal, your moderator for Our Town, the Spotlight. This segment covers organizations, events, and happenings across Rochester, and we'd like to thank 125 Live for hosting today's segment. Today we have Sheila Buehler with Care Professionals. and she's here to share a little bit more about this business. So go ahead and share what are the services that are provided.
Very good, Danielle. Thank you for this opportunity. This is a brand new business I started just a few weeks ago, literally. Started with a goal of providing in-home foot care, specifically trimming of toenails, thinning of toenails, and calluses, because over time it becomes very hard to reach the feet, and we all need help at some point. And getting help is often hard to come by. So I am a nurse practitioner, and I have had several years of training with foot care from various sources, both locally and nationally. I'm part of a national foot care nurse association, and my goal is to increase access for Rochester and surrounding area for foot care to prevent complications of pain, ulcers, and anyone who's had calluses knows it makes it very difficult to walk.
Oh yes, I've had calluses before, so I definitely, this is a service that I'm sure is definitely sought after.
Yeah.
So what is your clients usually demographic wise?
Yeah, so most of them are 60 and over. However, I definitely see folks down into their 40s, and it's just like you said, it's that callus, and these things, when they hurt bad enough, it keeps you from walking, it impairs your mobility. And it can also, we've had falls. I've heard stories, oh yeah, so-and-so broke their hip. It really does affect quality of life when your mobility is affected. So the other issue is big time ulcer prevention and ingrown toenail prevention. So
which is a reality for a lot of people.
A lot of people of all ages. And my hope is to grow the business to expand into day, evening, and weekend hours so that it's accessible for people who need it either on site here at 125 Live. I'm located in room 112 downstairs, and I post my hours. And then I'm also doing in-home care for those that need that. We're going to start training more nurses too, so we're going to get this done.
So that's so awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Danielle.
It's time for your Our Town Rundown. Mayo Clinic has said that we are past the peak for Omicron here in Minnesota, and we certainly hope that's the case. We hope to see this pandemic wind down and are incredibly grateful for people who are helping to make that happen. The Chateau Theater in the heart of beautiful downtown Rochester has a new operator. Threshold Arts has been selected by the Rochester City Council as the new operator, and Absolute Theater will also be moving over there. It is a beautiful historic space, and I look forward to seeing some more activation and activities going on there in the future. Wit, Wisdom, and Wine is an annual fundraiser for the Rochester Public Library Foundation. That is going on this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and that is a virtual event. So there's a lot of different activities that you can participate in. You can go to their website and choose to participate in the events that you like. I recommend it. I've been there. It's been a lot of fun in the past. Utica Queen, which is a really cool exhibit at the Art Center right now, is going on through April 3rd. In addition to that, I looked at the website, and there's a virtual attendance option as well. And if you're looking for something to do from the safety of your own home, that is a fantastic option. If you want to get out and about this weekend, Ben and Noel Haggard, the sons of Merle Haggard, will be playing at the Mayo Civic Center this Saturday. Also going on, it's coming into late winter. That means people are thinking about their weddings, and Unveiled Rochester is going on Saturday from 10 to 3, and that includes the Trend Spot Fashion Show. Finally, activities continue to go on at Rochester Civic Theater. I had a brief exchange with the executive director there, and she informed me that everyone who is in the productions and on staff there is fully vaccinated, and they are requiring masking at all of their events. So that's one more option. The show that's going on now is The Secret Comedy of Women, and that's going to be going on from the 3rd to the 13th. A lot of options for getting out there. Hope you get out and enjoy, and I'll catch you next time.
Hello, I'm Danielle Teal with Our Town Walkabout, and we're talking with our guest remotely. Today we have Andy Smith, and he's going to talk about garden party books. Hi, Andy. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, we're very excited because I'm a book fanatic, and I cannot wait to check out this space. You came from California. What made you make this decision to trek to Minnesota, open up a bookstore and a theater?
Yeah, so there are two reasons behind that. The first, I think a lot of people have heard, is that I fell in love with a Minnesotan. My wife is from the Twin Cities. The way we ended up here in Rochester is that desire to start a movie theater that really is built on community and talking to one another. We got connected with some great people to help us make our dream happen at Great Duck Theater and Coffee House. And really where I am right now at Garden Party Books is an extension of that vision, just in another art form.
Right in the midst of a pandemic, you decide to open a bookstore.
We sort of had a great opportunity sort of fall into our lap accidentally. This beautiful property next to us really had been empty for most of the pandemic. And then at the same time, if you remember, there was a bookstore called The Collective in the Castle.
Yes.
That had to close down.
Well, that was serendipitous.
It's really a lot of like small nooks and crannies and closets. So what we do is we divide genres into different rooms. So we have our sci-fi fantasy room. I'm sitting in the children's room right now. The romance closet, as we call it, is over there. We are passionate about books, but we're also passionate about places and how they create community and connection. And it's just a joy to work in a bookstore, to be honest. So I'm just happy to be here.
Awesome, Andy. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and we'll see you at Garden Party Books real soon.
This is Danielle Teal with Our Town Walkabout.
On January 18th, Bloomberg Philanthropies announced the 15 winning cities of the 2021-2022 Global Mayors Challenge. Now, this is a worldwide innovation competition that supports and spreads cities' most promising ideas, and Rochester was named one of those winning cities. Here to talk to us about what this award will allow the city to do are Chao Mwatela, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director for the City of Rochester, and Wafa Elkhalifa, Community Co-Designer and Equitable Development Coordinator for Destination Medical Center. Welcome both of you to our town.
Thank you.
So of course, congratulations, and thank you both so much for your work and leadership. To start us off, what was the city's vision for this Bloomberg 2021 Global Mayors Challenge? And what were the specific barriers that you were working to address through this project proposal?
I would say the genesis of the project itself was around February, March of 2021. So that's when the Global Mayors Challenge put out the notification to cities around the world that they were looking for new, innovative ideas from all over the globe that would address specific disparities, and in particular because of the pandemic. So looking for communities or folks or communities who were more severely impacted, and then coming up with really great and innovative ideas to meet those challenges. Repeat your second part of the question, please.
So it was just, in terms of that, so that was the call. And then here in our community, what were some of the specific barriers that you were seeking to address?
Well, I think we were really conscious about trying to figure out what communities were most severely impacted by the pandemic. And in doing so, and pulling data that was current, but even past, right? Recognizing that BIPOC women historically, right, have had disparities in all areas, whether it's healthcare access, et cetera, but specifically in economic mobility. And when we were looking at what the pandemic had a great impact on, that was a specific area when it came to BIPOC women. And then at the same time, our community is really fast and vastly growing, right? And recognizing that there is a lot of money coming in the built environment and construction industry in general, right? And then looking at that data and realizing that BIPOC women only represent 1% of the folks represented in the built environment. And so this would be something that is a career, not just a job, with living wage or even above that, right? And a trajectory for 20, 30 years. And then realizing that those two have no connection, and thinking here's a group that would love to have those career options. And here's an industry that is really saying, we really need folks to get engaged, right? And how do we get those two together?
That's awesome. So that bridging work was really sort of where the magic was happening with this proposal.
Yes.
So what are this newly awarded funds going to allow the city to do over this now 3-year implementation period?
So Bloomberg Philanthropies, when they award the $1 million, certainly it's over 3 years, but they also offer technical assistance, right? So folks who would allow us with budgeting, project management, et cetera. And what we are hoping to, and as we submitted in our application, that we want a large number of those dollars to go to BIPOC women and to spaces and places that would allow them to have career pathways into the built environment. And I'll let Wafa talk about it a bit more, but as the co-designers worked through the process, right, we thought about not having this as like a quick and short-term fix, right? But creating a prototype that had longevity. So a prototype has 3 distinct areas. There's an immediate industry prototype where we have women who are already trained, but haven't been able to get into the built environment. How do we get them into that right away with mentorship, support, et cetera? There is a training component in higher education, right? Which then allows folks who are ready to make decisions about careers now to get trained and then get into the built environment. And then a third component, that's K-12, recognizing and realizing that most young women are making decisions about careers as early as 3rd grade, right? So how do we get into that space early enough to let that population specifically know these are viable options, right? And so that we have that trajectory over the next 20, 30, 40 years, hopefully seeing our community change drastically in that built environment space.
I would just say that the process of including the co-designers from the beginning was amazing, because usually there is a misunderstanding around co-design where the co-designers are brought towards the end, kind of like a survey process of what do you think of what we already planned and created here. And so it was really awesome to include it from the beginning with all the steps that Chao shared. They have done a lot of research and bring a lot of background information to us, where it helped us as co-designers to find the targeted communities that we want to go and connect with them and find the information that would be relevant to this project.
Fantastic. So the community engagement and that co-design process, I mean, it sounds like it's been really instrumental to this project. And how are you thinking about continuing to center those voices, continuing to do that engagement? How is that going to remain sort of the center of the work?
Well, I would say it is very important and a very essential part of any project that's going to be happening in our community is to include these voices in every step of the project. Even after the completion of the project, is to include the co-designers, connect with them as any updates regarding the project, any modifications that the project is looking to. Me and Chao met as co-designers for the Discovery Walk project, Discovery Walk Park project. And so it's been really good, even that our involvement at that time was more consistent. And but right now we are still included in invitations for board, presentations, sharing information and update with us regarding the project. So it's always good to stay connected with your co-designers because they are the voice, they're representing the underserved, underrepresented voices that we have in the community.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. It's really exciting as well, and such a shift too in terms of thinking about how processes happen in communities and in cities. And so that's really exciting as well. I know construction is a big part of this, as you mentioned, Chao, earlier, and sort of meeting that construction need and bridging that with the staggering facts around the impact, the economic impact of obviously the pandemic, but even before that, the situation within our BIPOC communities. Do you see, well, first things first, construction. I know when many of us think about construction, we have a really narrow conception of what construction is, right? And what opportunities there are. Can you speak really just briefly about some of the different opportunities that are part of this, that this project will help facilitate, and what BIPOC women have already expressed interest in as you've engaged them?
Great question. And I know there's great conceptions and misconceptions, right, about construction. And that was one of the barriers that we identified, was the scope or the perspectives that BIPOC communities in general had about construction. And we often think about construction in terms of what we see on TV, right? The men with the hard hearts and very few women in the space, that being a concern. Am I going to be alone in that space, right? And so when we're thinking about construction, a lot of women pointed to landscape design, project management, architecture, CAD work, for example, right? And even things that happen after the construction is done, right? So there are folks who come in, whether they're doing a little bit of painting, they're doing interior design, et cetera. But we also had a lot of women who said they would be interested in being carpenters or putting down flooring, right? who would like to be electricians, but not really understanding or knowing how to navigate that process, because we learned from the industry experts that were there who are also co-designers that a lot of times that's generational and passed down within families. And so if you haven't had anybody in your own family to help you do that, right, then you don't really have a way to get into that space. And another layer to it, we had some BIPOC women who really expressed an interest in entrepreneurship, right? How do I become a supplier for materials, et cetera, right? Some of them thought about, well, could we possibly offer childcare close to, say, a construction site for folks who need to be at work as early as 5 a.m. in the morning? And so it generated a lot of different ideas, but more so kind of expanded the breadth of what we typically think of as construction into what it actually is, right? When we think about it holistically.
And how exciting. We're out of time here, but I want to thank you both so much for joining us today. Thank you for the work that you're doing. We're definitely going to be staying on top of the work and the progress over the span of this time and certainly beyond. So thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today. From a wonderful content produced right here in Rochester, please be sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter at #OurTown. I'm Nicole Nfonoyim-Hara for Our Town. Be well and stay safe. I will see you next week.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.